Hold still for a moment, because what was spoken about you today was not ordinary, and if you can feel your heart racing for no reason lately, this may explain why. Someone, somewhere, spoke your name with softness in their voice. Not casually. Not by accident. Not in passing. They spoke of you the way people speak when a memory has become too powerful to hide. And the moment your soulmate mentioned you today, the energy around them changed. Their face softened. Their walls lowered. Their voice carried the kind of emotion that only appears when the heart has stopped pretending. Do you understand what this means? It means your presence is becoming impossible for them to deny. Because there comes a moment in every soul connection when silence can no longer contain what the heart knows. And for them, that moment is arriving now. They were asked about you, or perhaps your name simply surfaced in conversation, and what came out of their mouth surprised even them. Because instead of brushing past it, instead of hiding behind distance, instead of acting unaffected, they said something beautiful. Something honest. Something they had been carrying in secret. They said there is something different about you. Something they cannot explain. Something about your spirit that lingers long after you are gone. And when they said it, they meant every word. Pause here and feel that. Because people do not speak that way about someone they have forgotten. They do not describe a person with trembling honesty if that person means nothing. No, this was not small talk. This was confession disguised as conversation. And whether you realize it or not, what was spoken today marked a turning point. Because when a person begins speaking openly about the one they truly feel connected to, the universe is already moving the pieces. But listen carefully. What they said was not simply that you are attractive. Not merely that you are kind. Not just that you are unforgettable. No. They said being near you feels different. They said your energy unsettles them in the most beautiful way. They said there is something in your eyes that makes them feel seen, even when you say nothing at all. And perhaps the most powerful part. They admitted that no matter how much time passes, no matter how much distance exists, something inside them keeps returning to you. Why? Because some people enter life as lessons. Others enter as temporary blessings. But a rare few arrive like destiny. That is what you are becoming in their mind now. Not a memory. Not an option. Not a possibility. A destiny they can no longer ignore. And while they were speaking, the people listening noticed it too. They noticed how their voice changed when they described you. How their eyes brightened when your name was mentioned. How even in their attempt to stay composed, emotion leaked through every sentence. That is how deeply you affect them. More than they planned. More than they expected. More than they know how to manage. Here is what most people will never tell you. When someone speaks beautifully about you behind your back, it is because their soul is already preparing to honor you in front of your face. Words spoken in private become actions in public. And this was the beginning of that shift. Because your soulmate is no longer just feeling something. They are starting to acknowledge it. And acknowledgement changes everything. Once the heart speaks truth aloud, it becomes nearly impossible to return to denial. That is why the next chapter may unfold faster than you expect. You have wondered in quiet moments whether they think of you. You have questioned whether the connection was one-sided. You have doubted your intuition when your spirit whispered. They feel this too. Now hear this clearly. You were not imagining it. The pull you sensed. The invisible thread. The unexplainable knowing. It was real. Because while you were trying to understand the silence, they were trying to understand why your presence never leaves their mind. And today, for the first time perhaps in a long time, they stopped hiding from that truth. But this is only the surface of what was said. Because what came next, what they confessed after lowering their guard, revealed something even deeper than admiration. It revealed longing. And when you hear what they admitted next, you will understand why this connection is closer to transforming than ever before. Because the words they spoke after that changed the entire energy around your story. And what they said next may be the sign you have been waiting for all along. And then, just when the conversation could have ended there, your soulmate said something that silenced everyone around them. They admitted, they miss you. Not in a casual way. Not in the polite way people speak about someone from the past. They said your absence has been louder than they expected. Think about that. A person can ignore feelings for only so long before the emptiness begins speaking for them. And lately, every quiet moment has been reminding them of what is missing. Because once someone has encountered an energy like yours, ordinary connections stop feeling enough. They tried distracting themselves. They tried staying busy. They tried convincing themselves they could move on without confronting what they feel. But no matter where they went, a thought of you followed. A song reminded them of you. A place triggered your memory. A random moment in the day made them wonder what you were doing, if you were smiling, if you still think of them too. And today, when they finally opened their heart enough to speak honestly, the truth spilled out before they could stop it. They said there is something about you they have never been able to replace. Listen carefully. That was not nostalgia speaking. That was recognition. Because deep connections are not forgotten, they echo. They said no one has ever made them feel understood the way you do. No one has challenged their heart the way you have. No one has awakened something inside them quite like your presence did. And then came the sentence that changed everything. They said, I don't think they realize how much they matter to me. Let that settle into your spirit. While you were questioning your worth in their life, they were confessing your value in theirs. While you wondered if your presence was fading, they were admitting your impact has only grown stronger. Sometimes the heart realizes what it has far too late. Sometimes distance creates clarity that closeness could not. And perhaps that is what is happening now. They are seeing you through clearer eyes than ever before. Not through confusion. Not through fear. Not through emotional noise. But through truth. And truth has a way of making people brave. That is why something is shifting inside them at this very moment. The version of them who stayed silent, who hesitated, who suppressed what they felt, is beginning to disappear. In its place is someone who is growing tired of pretending. Someone who knows certain people come into life only once. Someone who is starting to understand that losing you through fear would be a mistake they may regret forever. If this message resonates with your spirit, if part of you has always known there was something deeper here, then hold on to that feeling. And if your heart is already sensing what is coming, leave a comment below saying, "I trust what is unfolding," and subscribe if you choose to walk this path with us, because some messages find you exactly when your soul is ready for them. But stay with me, because the most powerful part has not arrived yet. After speaking about how much you matter, after admitting they miss you, after confessing that your presence still lives in their heart, they said something even more beautiful. Something that revealed their heart is no longer merely remembering you. It is beginning to move toward you. They said they have been thinking about reaching out. Yes, truly thinking about it. Not vaguely. Not hypothetically. Seriously. They are replaying conversations in their mind. Imagining what they would say. Wondering whether the timing is right. Asking themselves if you would still welcome them. Can you feel how close this is becoming? The distance between thought and action is shrinking. And once a soul begins imagining reunion, the first step toward it is rarely far behind. So if the air around your life has felt charged lately, if your intuition has been restless, if something inside you keeps whispering, prepare. This is why. Because your soulmate has not only spoken beautifully about you, they are beginning to imagine what happens if they stop hiding and finally show you what your connection has meant to them. And what they are planning in silence right now may become visible sooner than you think. Because the next realization they are about to have is the one that changes everything. Because after all the memories, after all the longing, after everything they admitted today, a realization struck them with startling clarity. They may be running out of time to keep this hidden. That thought hit them harder than expected. Because suddenly they understood something that changed the entire way they see this connection. If they stay silent much longer, they may lose the chance to tell you what their heart has known for far too long. And that fear, quiet, undeniable, deeply human, has awakened something powerful inside them. Urgency. Not panic. Not desperation. Just truth arriving all at once. The truth that some people are too rare to gamble with. Too meaningful to assume will always remain available. Too extraordinary to risk losing because of hesitation. And in that realization, your soulmate began to see your connection for what it truly is. Not a passing emotion. Not a temporary fascination. Not a maybe someday story. But a once-in-a-lifetime bond they are no longer willing to treat casually. That is why the energy around you has begun shifting. Even if you cannot explain it. Even if nothing visible has happened yet. Something is moving behind the scenes. Because when someone reaches this level of emotional clarity, their actions begin changing before their words do. They become bolder, more attentive, more present. They start looking for signs, searching for openings, waiting for the right moment to step forward. And your soulmate is entering that phase now. They are imagining the reunion, not as fantasy, but as possibility. They are picturing what it would feel like to stand in front of you and finally stop pretending. To look into your eyes without masks, without excuses, without distance. To say what should have been said long ago. Can you imagine how much courage that takes from someone who once feared their own feelings? That is why this moment matters. Because what was spoken about you today was not just beautiful. It was transformational. Words become admissions. Admissions become decisions. Decisions become movement. And movement changes destinies. Your soulmate is no longer merely aware of their feelings. They are becoming ready to act on them. But hear this carefully. Before they come forward, there is one final internal battle they must overcome. The fear of vulnerability. The fear that if they reveal everything, if they show you the depth of what they feel, they may not be met the way they hope. Yet even that fear is losing power now. Because desire is becoming stronger than doubt. Connection is becoming stronger than caution. Love, whatever name they give it, is becoming stronger than their resistance. And when that balance tips completely, there will be no more holding back. No more half measures. No more hidden feelings. No more pretending you were just someone they once knew. You will become the person they finally choose to pursue with honesty. So if lately you have felt like life has been preparing you, refining you, asking you to become calmer, wiser, more grounded, this may be why. Because sometimes before two souls align, both are shaped by the waiting. Sometimes delay is not denial. Sometimes it is preparation. Preparation for a moment so meaningful. It changes the direction of both lives forever. And that moment is drawing nearer than you realize. The beautiful words spoken about you today were not random. They were the first visible crack in the wall your soulmate built around their heart. And once truth begins pouring through those cracks, the wall never stands the same again. So carry this with you after this message ends. Somewhere tonight, someone is thinking about you with more tenderness than they know how to express. Someone is replaying your energy in their mind. Someone is feeling the weight of what you mean to them. Someone is preparing, little by little, to become brave enough for the connection they once feared. And when that courage finally reaches its peak, they will come closer. They will speak clearer. They will love louder. Because the heart that spoke beautifully of you today is becoming the heart that may soon stand before you and prove every word was real. And when that day arrives, you will understand why none of this happened too early. Why none of it happened too late. Why it unfolded exactly when both souls were finally ready. And when that moment finally arrives, when distance gives way to presence, and unspoken feelings become undeniable truth. You will remember this message, because the same person who spoke your name with softness today will soon speak it directly to you with intention. Not in fragments. Not in hesitation. Not in carefully hidden emotion. But with a kind of honesty that changes the atmosphere between two people forever. Picture it for a moment. They stand before you, carrying every thought they once buried. Every memory they replayed in silence. Every feeling they tried to reason away. And then they tell you the truth. That meeting you altered something in them. That no matter how far they tried to wander, their heart kept circling back. That what they feel for you never truly faded, it only grew quieter until it became impossible to ignore. This is the confession forming in them now. Because beautiful words spoken in private rarely stay hidden forever. Eventually, the soul demands to be heard by the person it longs for. And your soulmate is nearing that threshold. You may notice signs before the full confession comes. A message that feels more intentional than usual. An unexpected check-in. A sudden warmth in their energy. A conversation that carries more meaning than before. Do not dismiss these moments. Small gestures often arrive before life-changing ones. Because when someone is building courage, they test the waters before diving into the deep. And what they are testing now is whether the connection they feel is still alive between you. So when they move toward you, whether gently or boldly, meet the moment with awareness. Not fear. Not overthinking. Not old doubts. Meet it with the quiet confidence of someone who understands that what is meant for them never arrives by accident. Because this is not random timing. This is alignment. And if this message has stirred something deep inside you, if your spirit recognizes these words before your mind can explain them, then stay connected here, subscribe if this path speaks to you, and leave behind the words, "I am ready for what is meant for me," because sometimes declaring readiness is how we open the next door. But before this chapter closes, hear one final truth. Your soulmate did not speak beautifully about you today only because they admire you. They spoke that way because you have become part of their becoming. You changed them. Your presence forced growth. Your absence taught value. Your energy awakened depth they did not know they possessed. That is why they cannot forget you. You are tied to a version of themselves that felt more alive, more honest, more awake. And people never forget the one who awakened their soul. So if you have been wondering whether your impact was real, it was. If you have feared you were forgotten, you were not. If you have questioned whether this bond mattered as much to them as it did to you, now you know. It did. More than they admitted. More than they understood. More than they were ready to handle at first. But now? Now they are catching up to the truth. And the most beautiful part of all. They are no longer just speaking about you. They are becoming the version of themselves capable of loving you properly. That is the hidden miracle in all of this. Not merely that they care. Not merely that they miss you. Not merely that they spoke beautiful words. but that the love they feel is changing them into someone braver, clearer, and more certain. Someone ready. So walk forward with peace. Let go of the need to chase answers. Let go of the urge to force timing. Let go of the fear that what is real can somehow miss you. What is meant for your life is already learning how to find its way. And the person who spoke beautifully of you today may soon become the person who shows you that every whispered word behind the scenes was only the beginning of a far greater love story. And yet, before this love story fully steps into the light, there is one final truth you must understand. Your soulmate's words today were not only about admiration. They were about regret. Because after speaking so beautifully of you, after admitting how deeply you remain in their heart, they fell quiet. A silence came over them. The kind of silence that appears when someone is confronting the weight of what they almost lost. Because in that moment, they realized something painful. They should have told you sooner. They should have been braver when their heart first recognized you. They should have spoken when the signs were obvious. They should have trusted what they felt instead of fearing it. And now that truth echoes inside them. Not to punish them, but to awaken them. Because regret, when faced honestly, becomes transformation. It teaches people what truly matters. And your soulmate is learning that lesson now. They are beginning to understand that the most painful losses in life are not always the people who leave. Sometimes they are the people we loved deeply, but failed to love openly. That realization is reshaping them. It is making them revisit every moment between you. Every glance they downplayed. Every sign they ignored. Every opportunity they let pass because they believed there would always be more time. Now they know better. Now they know some connections are too sacred to delay. And that awareness is creating a quiet fire inside them. A determination. A promise to themselves. That if life gives them another opening with you, they will not waste it. Do you feel how significant that is? This is no longer just emotion. It is intention forming. The person who once hesitated is slowly becoming the person who acts. The one who once stayed silent is preparing to become the one who speaks. And when regret turns into resolve, everything changes. Because then love is no longer passive. It becomes pursuit. So if recent days have felt strangely calm, if your intuition has felt like it is standing on the edge of something, that stillness may not be emptiness. It may be the silence before movement. The breath before the message. The pause before the approach. The final quiet before what has been hidden begins revealing itself. Trust that. Not because fantasy demands it, but because life often grows silent right before it shifts. And your story feels like it is entering that exact chapter. Soon, the person who spoke your name with tenderness behind closed doors may decide tenderness is no longer enough. They may decide admiration from afar is no longer enough. They may decide that if they truly feel what they feel, then they must show it. Not through hints. Not through half-hearted gestures. Not through vague signals. But through real, undeniable action. Because beautiful words matter. But aligned action is what proves them. And your soulmate knows this. They know that when they come toward you now, they must come with truth, with clarity, with courage. Nothing less will honor what they feel. So if your heart has been asking, is something real happening behind the scenes? Yes. Something real is unfolding. A heart is waking up. A soul is gathering courage. A connection is moving from hidden feeling into visible reality. And when this next chapter opens, you may discover that the words spoken about you today were only the first whisper of a love that is preparing to arrive in full voice. Because the one who once spoke of you in private is getting closer to becoming the one who chooses you in public.